You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly.
Hello and welcome to the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. Each week our team discusses news and events from this past week as well as preview the week ahead, covering Mexico-based promotion and top independents along with luchador-related news from throughout the United States. The Lucha Central Weekly Podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network, which can be found on luchacentral.com. You can also find shows from the network, such as this one, on all major podcast platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Podbay, and Speaker. My name is Miranda Morales, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast, and I'm going to bring in the rest of the team. Introducing first, he is the dashing one, Mr. Dusty Murphy. Dusty, hello.
Hey, Miranda, how's it going?
I am doing very, very well. I am hopped up on sugar that I, for some reason, decided to eat a lot of right before the show, so I'm just a little hyped up.
I love
it. But you know what? It will help the show because there's a lot to talk about this week. And in order to do that, well, let's go ahead and talk to the third member of our trio. Who? Who am I talking about? It is the one and only Brendan Barr.
That's who.
Hey. I should have had some sugar. That's what I should have done.
It says mix of like being full, but also being like now the the adrenaline level's kind of coming up. So yes, it's happening. It's happening. Right. I feel like that's just my motto this week. It's happening.
It is. Yes.
I don't. Fits. I don't know what this is, but it's happening.
It's happening. Everything is happening. So much is happening. I mean, it's a lot we're going to be covering. I mean, Wednesday happened. Of course
my God. I need to split Wednesday in half this week. Like that's too much was happening there.
Yeah. Where I was wishing like 2021. How come human cloning has not been perfected yet? I get like you have DVR, but like why can't I just not be two people watching two different shows at the same time?
Well, can we just stop putting programming on Wednesdays? Like there's 3 really good shows on Wednesdays.
True. Yes.
Yeah.
But we had that. We had the Royal Rumble this past Sunday, and again, lots of news and information for all of you. So we're gonna jump right into it this week with the road back to shows with Brendan.
Wow. Okay. See, it's happening. The road back to shows. We're gonna start with Mexico City still being red. I know, very boo. But once again, I would like to remind everybody, stay home, stay safe. We love you. We don't want you to get sick. So, if you stay home, we can maybe have shows sooner. That's the way I'm viewing this right now. In a similar vein of staying home, a news story that was running last week, late part of last week, Canada has canceled all flights in and out of Mexico through April 30th. So Canada is just sick of all of our bullshit.
I don't think it's wrong. I just think it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, we're just... They're like, no flights in and out of Mexico. The American border's closed. Like, you can't really... unless you work in Canada, you can't go into Canada through the American border here. So, no, they're just like... No, you guys figure it out. We'll be up here with our poutine waiting for you to clean up your act or whatever it is they do in Canada. I don't know. Speaking of that, also, Dusty will have more on this later, but there was a news conference from the Mexican Tourism Board and AAA and wrestling. So, I mean, they are trying to get people to come. Apparently not Canadians, but they're trying to get people to start coming back to Mexico in the very near future. It's kind of a necessary thing. There are definitely very large areas of Mexico that are entirely based on getting particularly Americans to just come and spend money. So a whole year of being shut down is not going to be great. And I'm sneaking this news in here. I've been seeing other people giving results for CMLL events that have been happening at Arena Mexico behind closed doors. That's actually the name of some of the events that are going up on YouTube. Is in Spanish. It's behind closed doors. I have not been able to verify what the conditions are like, so I'm just not gonna give you results there. But the results are out there if you want. You know, the usual places: Lucha Central, Lucha Blog. They're there. But as I will mention during the Indie Roundup, I'm trying to stick with places that I know are doing safe and sane shows, especially since Mexico City is red right now. In another fun little story, though, we have a follow-up on Blue Demon's mayoral candidacy. He said in an interview that he has plans to continue wrestling while he is running his campaign, but he does tease the idea of maybe retiring in the next 2 years. Cubs fan mentioned this, I believe, on Twitter, but it's also the thoughts that I had, which is anytime a wrestler, especially a luchador, is that specific about where they think their retirement is, it never works that way.
Spoiler alert.
We had this whole conversation in a previous episode about luchador retirements. I'm looking at you, Dr. Wagner Jr. If you hear a luchador give you a specific timeline for when they think they're going to retire, that's not how it's going to go. Just work with that. I had a happy little note from an interview with Hugo Savinovich where the Lucha Bros were mentioning something, particularly Pentagon, I believe it was, about having a Pasadena store called Republic of Lucha. That doesn't sound like anything that I'm familiar with whatsoever. But still it would be cool. It would be very cool to just be able to go to an American website, and be able to buy my Lucha Bros, even more Lucha Bros merchandise than I can get, at the Mass Republic locations, although I'm sure Mass Republic would, facilitate the online sales for that store when it does open. Yeah.
So
I'm just refusing to get excited about the physical location because I'm just in this world of I'm not going to travel anytime soon. I'm still crossing my fingers for Expo Lucha.
Yes.
But that's like July, August. That's where I'm hoping that we'll still be able to travel. And then after that, I'll start thinking about going to Pasadena to see the store.
I guess they're going to have a museum and one half of it like a lucha.
You should do that. You absolutely should do that.
Yeah.
If you are a globally famous wrestler with lots of interesting little tidbits from your travels around the world and your superhero-like identity fighting good guys and bad guys alike, then you should absolutely have a section of the store that's just for people to come in and look at and see how awesome you are. That's just how you sell more merchandise. Science.
Wrestling science, at least.
Yeah.
It's the best kind of science.
That's true.
And then I had a fun one. I mentioned this just before. I was watching a bunch of stuff on the new Pluto TV channel. They have Channel 732, which is Pluto's wrestling channel. But this week they added the Defy Wrestling show to it, and I've mentioned Defy before. They are our local super indie who has featured a number of lucha performers. The episodes that I watched, they had they had La Raza, which is a tag team consisting of Sonico and Leo Negro in a match with War Beast. War Beast in this iteration is Joseph Samael and Jacob Fatu. They had they were going to have, I didn't get to finish the episode because there's too much damn lucha on TV this week, and that's not a bad problem. They had Rey Horus and Mexi Blood and some of the match there. They had Team KO Crazy, which is Guillermo Rosas and Super Crazy in a 4-way tag match. So, I mean, like, that's just the stuff that I saw in the couple of episodes. We also had the Lucha Bros at previous shows. Luchasaurus has been at a show. So all of these which were filmed. So, I mean, Pluto TV seems to be free. I have yet to find how they're charging me. So, if you want to...
It's absolutely it's completely free. Yeah, I love Pluto TV.
Yeah, if you want to...
They have a long history with Wrestling Impact and AAA, and then for a while they had a generic wrestling channel, and if you flipped it on, sometimes it would be like Japanese stuff from the 90s, like FMW, sometimes it would be like stuff from the Midwest in the 70s. The variety that they've included has been incredible, so it's amazing to see the more modern push and the grow that they've been able to have.
So they actually, from what I can see, have split that, because Channel 732 is just listed as Pluto Wrestling, and Defy is one of many programs that's on it. They have a couple others that they're going to be adding. For some reason, they're also showing Broken Skull Ranch show on Pluto Wrestling, but hey. Then
it's tangentially related.
Right? But they also had that classic stuff when I was poking around on another channel, which just had a number on it, so I can't remember off the top of my head. So lots of great wrestling. However, I did want to point out, because the big push came into my mailbox this week for Defy, and Defy is a very lucha-friendly indie show. That's a great place to pick it up if you. And if you like it, go to defywrestling.com and find out more ways to support them, because they are a really good indie programming show that I need to have them doing live shows when we're able to start having live shows out here in Seattle again. But that is my road back to shows.
And I mean, if you want to jump into it, the indie roundup, because you do have some.
I do.
I mean, most people are banned. Let's be real. You're not running a safe show. You're banned from Brendan's indie roundup.
I didn't want to talk about CMLL, so don't think that I'm gonna pull any punches for any other lucha show.
No mercy here, really. I mean, Brendan is take it as real seriously, ruthless.
So yeah, I mean, I just wanna support people staying safe and sane right now. Lucha Time has been putting up older episodes. They're still new to me. I haven't found. Wasn't able to catch them on the original broadcast on Facebook. So they had another 30-minute episode which had 3 matches on it. The first match was Vertigo versus Baby Extreme, which was basically 2 young, high-flying people just going crazy. This one, because it was 2 kind of flyers who were both kind of doing a little bit dirty and a little bit flyer. It was not a lot of brawling, but lots of dives and fun stuff. Baby Extreme did come out on top on this. I don't even remember the finish anymore, because I was just like too wowed watching them trying to absolutely murder each other by throwing their bodies. The next match, we had Hijo del Enfermo versus Redimo. This really had a nice change of pace feel for it, where you had Hijo del Enfermo kind of taking more of a elder statesman role, even though they're both probably about the same age, with Redimido as kind of the cocky kid, and that's kind of the, like, you'd have the elder person tricking him into throwing his body around and then taking advantage of it, trying to get a lock on. It was nice little Clash of Styles sort of story. And then Hijo del Enfermo hit a power bomb like move and then hit with a stack up and then of course put his feet on the ropes, because if you're going to be the tricksy elder statesman type character, then you have to, cheat to win, feet on the ropes or something else. It was a fun match. And our last one, we had Mafioso, who I've probably talked about a bunch on Lucha Time because I just love his faction's whole look and vibe, versus Delta. And I mean, this was more of the Lucha Times kind of traditional brawling setup anyway. They brawled around ringside. They brawled inside the ring. The match finish, though, was, as Lucha Time likes to do, a little bit of a surprise. Zorro popped up, kind of taunted both the guys in the ring, although Delta was a little more distracted than Mafioso, who managed to get in the foul, and then he, after the foul, he rolls up Delta and gets the win and invites Zorro in. There's a tiny bit of celebrating, and then Zorro hits him with a big move too and stands in the middle of the ring with the sword held up. So I don't feel like Zorro's on anybody's side except his own, but people still seem to think he's going to show up and help them, and then he tends to hit them with a sword. So I don't know. Pro tip, if you are a young wrestler in Mexico and Zorro shows up, he's probably going to hit you with the sword. Either he's going to do it, he's either going to do it after he hits the other guy you're fighting or before. So just, be ready. It was a good episode. I'm glad Lucha Time is still putting up product. That's the timeline that I'm keeping up with is on the Mas Lucha channel. I have not found them on YouTube anywhere but the Mas Lucha channel. Their up-to-date content was streaming on Facebook, but it would only go up live and then it would get on delay like I'm watching now on the channel. So if you're able to catch it live on Facebook, don't give me the spoilers yet. Speaking of the Mas Lucha channel, they've been very good about giving us lots of older content, kind of either re-updated or things that you might have missed the first time around, or just taking good matches from full events and putting it up. So they've been giving me something new to watch every day. And similar thing, IWTV's been good about putting up Lucha content. They did not get me that Martinez Entertainment show that was hopefully going to go up last week. So once again, I'm going to try and catch it when it does go up, but I have not been able to catch that. And then again, since I'm praising people who've been doing that sort of thing, Coastal Championship Wrestling recently uploaded a Super Crazy match from a previous event, and I love me a good Super Crazy match, so I figured I'd give them a shout out on that. But that is my indie roundup. Once again, we are asking for indie wrestlers, promoters, or fans to just send us stuff to the show. You can send it to me or you can send it to any of the members of the show, and we will watch it and put it on the show. And right now, as we mentioned, I'm focusing on the safe stuff. So if you give me a little message about your preparation and all of that, I'll shout that out while I'm talking about your great matches too.
Fantastic. And we will give that information out in the end of the show, but you can also, if you're so eager, go ahead and find us on social media right now. But before you do that, well, we're going to kick it off to Denise Salcedo with this week's Lucha Central.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch all of the great network content this week. Get the full lineup and listen to all of our shows in the podcast network section of luchacentral.com. On Tuesdays, Mats, and Mayhem takes you inside the world of Lucha Underground as they take you weekly through the series with the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of special guests from the groundbreaking series. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at luchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday. Tuesday nights live, it's Wrestle Boss, where Fabi Chulo talks MMA and pro wrestling with special guests and listener call-ins. Visit WrestleBossLive.com Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific to listen live or call in with questions or download the show on podcast platforms on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Special guests and a whole lot of fun make it one of the most talked about shows in Mexico. Thursdays, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez, as they have guests from throughout the wrestling world pull up to give an inside look into their careers. From indie standouts to television superstars, each week brings a new name and perspective. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. Be sure to subscribe and follow all your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms, either by their own series name or subscribe to the Lucha Central Podcast Network show pages to get all of the shows in one easy feed. And please consider giving a rating to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
Also, just a quick plug. Speaking of the podcast network, a big congratulations to Mesa de los Mágaros, who won for the favorite Lucha Central podcast of the year from the Lucha Central End of Year Awards. Those were just put out very recently, and it's fantastic for them. So congratulations to Mesa de los Mágaros.
Wasn't there when I last looked to see what the update was, so that's very cool. Mm-hmm. And people listening to the show won't know this, but I had said that I had predicted a different winner, so I'm a little surprised on that, which is I appreciate the fans reaching out and proving me wrong, because that means that you guys are involved and doing a very good job of voting for your favorite show. So we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, so don't worry, it wasn't ours. I mean, we did hope we would win, but wasn't us that we were thinking we were going to win.
Full disclosure, no, I didn't. I said no. There's no way we're gonna win. That's the part. I'm not gonna say what show it was, but I had said to Dusty and Miranda off air, like, who I thought was gonna win, and that wasn't the show. So I'm glad that they proved me wrong, because it's a good show.
Well. Up next, a busy week in the world of WWE with SmackDown, Raw, Royal Rumble, and main event. So, Dusty, go ahead and take it away.
Right. Well, we had quite a bit of content this week in WWE. Whether or not it was great content, it kind of differs. But we had it. And first up, we had Friday Night SmackDown. And that's not deja vu all over again you're experiencing. It was, again, Dominic Mysterio versus King Corbin. This is an extension of last week's match between Dominic and King Corbin, which was tied to the match the week before between Rey and King Corbin. A lot of repetition there. I've mentioned before, I'm not sure what WWE's doing with the Mysterios. It's some kind of weird holding pattern, but it's been all incredibly repetitive, and it does nothing to highlight the best of what each man has to offer, including Corbin. He's from Kansas City, local to me. He was a Golden Gloves champion. He's actually really cool. They just don't give him that ability to do that.
No.
And they should. But Rey has implied that it's building up to a boxing match between the two at WrestleMania. And I love Rey. I love Dom. I actually even really love Baron Corbin, not King Corbin. But this is like a boxing match, that's not a WrestleMania. Like that's not good, and we'd all be a little worse for it. So I hope they, kind of push that on the back burner. I'm not a fan of that idea personally.
It works great if one of the people is a celebrity, but Dominic is not Mr. T. So
no, yeah. Well, the size disparity alone would make
right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, feels like you're going to watch a beating or something rather
Yeah,
than a match.
yeah. Oh, yeah, we're gonna see a grown man kill a little boy. This is great.
And speaking of Dominic and Ray, on Sunday night we had the Royal Rumble. There wasn't a ton of Lucha news, but Dominic Mysterio entered at number 20. Ray was number 26, I believe, and they were together for quite a while. They were in the ring. Carlito was a surprise entry at number 8. I got in touch with both Hugo Savanovich and Lucha Blog this week because we had kind of mentioned before that Carly was kind of announced as somebody who had a deal with AAA. Well, it turns out that was like a one-night contracted appearance with an option for more dates if both sides agreed to it. But when the plans for Triple Mania changed and they were only allowed to have so many people in the ring at a time and the date changed and everything, he was no longer able to appear and the contract was canceled by both sides, so he was free to sign anywhere he pleased, and now he's got a 3-week temporary appearance contract with WWE, hopefully leading to more stuff. But that was my most exciting entrant for Royal Rumble. Edge was the Edge story is very exciting. Edge won the Royal Rumble, but Carlito's back. That's the real news.
For sure.
Yeah. And it was exciting. He was announced for the Throwback Raw and didn't show up. And, he, finally came back. So it kind of hinted he was coming back. But now we understand where things stand with AAA and his deal with them. And so it's just kind of an interesting spot. And then on Raw, we really had no Lucha news. But main event, once again, I've mentioned we'll keep covering main event as long as they keep covering luchadors. And again, both matches this week, we got some Lucha action. First up, we had Humberto Carrillo versus Drew Gulak. And this was awesome. I love Drew Gulak, so it was hard for me to root for Carrillo. He's got an awesome new look, though. He's grown the beard. He's grown up looking compared to the kind of angel-faced guy he was before. But, Gulak dominated this match. He just kept Carrillo grounded for at least 85% of it. And that was the genius spot. Carrillo got in a few shots, but when he got the opening to fly, he picked up the win because of it. So good. I love to see a Flash win once in a while. He threw a big leg and had a spinning head kick, and then he hit an amazing moonsault. It was only about 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes long. If they'd given it another 5 or 6 minutes, I think this could have been amazing, but it was still very good, told a great story. Just an awesome match. Highly recommend it. And then for our main event, we had Ricochet versus Angel Garza. Ricochet has a history with Lucha Underground as Prince Puma. He's done a lot of Lucha work. If you're not hip to Ricochet, where you been? Because he is awesome. And so is Garza. And this was such a good match. And it got 9 minutes. If they had given it 15 to 20 minutes, I think it could have been a really great match. But it's so good. Garza has really been the star of main event lately. No matter what he does on main event, he looks amazing. He's got so much charisma and just panache, and everything he does is special and seems so cool, like a big deal. And he got the win. Again, this match was incredible. He cheated. We had his feet on the ropes to get the pin. Yeah. Such good stuff. 2 of the highest quality wrestlers in WWE putting on an amazing almost 10-minute match. Fantastic. I, highly implore everybody to check it out. This was good. This was probably the best match in WWE this.
That's a bar. I don't know how high that bar is, but
I was gonna say the bar's not high, but I think with that, those two are really, really talented in the ring. And when you think about the landscape of the week, you don't get that a lot. Raw is very much a entertainment show. Yep. And SmackDown is already packed with a lot of really good programs and matches. So when you think about it, where else could they go?
There's one other show that we might talk about later. I haven't looked too close at the format, but 205 Live should also be a home for that kind of really solid wrestling.
That's true. I mean, we won't be talking about it this week, but from what we've seen in 205 Live, it's become pretty diverse. When you
really
also
has.
had some of the Dusty Rose women's tag team matches on there. I mean, why not at this point?
Yeah, great spot for it. Nice.
Yeah.
And if they continue to evolve 205 Live the way they have, we'll add it to the lineup too, whenever it's Lucha relevant.
It's still, I mean, those two shows right now, main event is because you're getting 10-minute matches. Like, even on SmackDown where you get good wrestling, you're getting 4 to 7 minute matches.
Exactly.
So, they get a little extra time to put a little extra in there, and it often pays off. Like, getting to see Gulak actually grapple for somebody for a couple minutes.
It was so good. These are the type of matches that you don't get to see on WWE TV. When you're thinking, I wish these guys had, the match they could put on. We've mentioned that so many times at WWE matches. It's main event. Main event is where they have the matches they could put on.
Yep.
I mean, they're still restrained for time. Like I say, especially the Angel Garza Ricochet match, if it had just another 5 to 10 minutes, it would have been insane. But I highly, highly recommend main event to everybody. This is really where people can shine. For a while now, it's kind of been where they either dumped matches that they didn't think were good enough for TV, or to hype up what was on Raw for the most part. But they've slowly turned it into kind of something in between the old NXT and WWE. It's where these guys that are too good for NXT but still need a little seasoning, a little time in front of the camera, just to get the feel for the WWE style. And you're seeing a lot of incredible matches. We had Keith Lee versus Angel Garza a few weeks ago and they had like a 12-minute match on main event, and you would never see that on Raw or SmackDown.
No.
And it was an incredible match. And so it's really exciting that they've kind of found their footing with main event and found a place to be that transitional spot for people that are on their way up but aren't all the way up there yet. And it's kind of like, you can tell Angel Garza being in the main event, they like Garza.
Yeah.
But he still wasn't in the Royal Rumble. Our only Lucha presence were the Mysterios. And
so I was gonna ask, cause I've got my card in front of me here. We did not get the Andrade return in the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
I know.
And so I'm getting no points for Andrade on it's just no good. It's no good.
Yeah.
WWE, you're letting me down.
Well, and they kind of even he kind of hinted on social media, he and Charlotte, that, maybe he was coming to be the Iceman for Rick, since Rick was kind of coming out with Lacey, that maybe Andrade was coming to, back Charlotte up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I guess if it wasn't going to be involved in the Royal Rumble story, but Royal Rumble's kind of where we set everything up for WrestleMania, and
right?
That's kind of leading to WrestleMania in a way, so who knows what it's all doing.
But, they've been setting up stories now even shorter and shorter, throughout the years. So like that traditional lead time that we used to have has now been cut pretty
That's true.
consistent.
Especially in the post-COVID era where they keep hoping they can do things in front of a crowd and then.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still possible it could happen, but they probably, maybe it gets built up, in the next few weeks, or even just, a few weeks right before WrestleMania.
I hope so.
I hope so too. It's interesting, like you mentioned, they really hotshot a lot of things into the pay-per-views, but at the same time, they give us like Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what? It's just strange. Like, I guess it's the COVID era. They're afraid to pull the trigger on anything cool without people there. And so you're in this weird holding pattern, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we have nothing. We've been doing this too long. Quick, get to the story. And they do it in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah, so hopefully, we'll see some better work soon. Or at least more luchadors on main event where we can enjoy their work.
Yeah.
Main event in 205 Live.
Yeah, 205 Live.
Yeah. Going into 2020, I did not think, boy, I'm really glad I have the network so I can watch Main Event.
It's true now, though. It's one of my highlights.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that WWE Network will surprise you every time. But up next, Dusty, you're going to let us know what happened on AEW Dark and Dynamite.
Yeah, first up on Tuesday night, we had AEW Dark, and we had 5 really great lucha matches. First up, we had KC Navarro versus Rey Fénix. Fénix is simply just one of the best wrestlers in the world. Mm-hmm. We and he both knew ahead of time that he wasn't going to lose this match, but he still got the opportunity to show off his aggressive streak ahead of that big 6-man tag team match at Beach Break. Navarro got in a lot more offense than you would probably expect, and he had a great showing as well, so I feel like KC Navarro is somebody to watch. In my opinion, he's kind of being groomed for the main roster. You know, this wasn't a squash match. This was like a 6-minute match. And so he's and they're putting him people like Rey Fénix. That's a big deal. And I'll talk more about Rey Fénix later. But first, we had our second Lucha relevant match of the night on Dark. We had Thunder Rosa versus Danny Jordan. And much like with Rey Fénix, we knew before this match ever started who was going to win. But it was just so fun to get there. Rosa is easily one of the best in the world, and her work is just so good and so stellar. And somehow she just gets better and better every week. Like you saw her last week, she's better this week. And so many people have a plateau in their talent or an inability to evolve once they reach a certain level. And I truly don't think Thunder Rosa has that. I think she's going to be kind of the creator and architect for the next level of women's wrestling, especially for AEW. And this is the Thunder Rosa we saw in this match. She's so good. Highly recommend it. Next up, we had Fuego del Sol and Valerie Morales versus Santana and Ortiz. Fuego and Morales are a fun team, but we've already established that Santana and Ortiz might be the most brutal tag team, at least one of the two most brutal in AEW. They've slipped down in the tag team rankings, and now they're out for blood. They beat Fuego and Morales in 2 very short minutes, or 2 very long minutes if you're the one taking the crowd powerful.
Yeah, man.
And then the other brutal tag team, the other people running for the title of most brutal tag team, we had Ivelisse and Diamante versus Vert Vixen and Jasmine Allure. Ivelisse and Diamante just continued to show why they're the very best tag team in wrestling. They racked up another win this week, and I love the match. I love everything these 2 women do. They're tough, they're bad, and they're very legitimate. You absolutely know that Ivelisse or Diamante could and would hurt you if they got the chance, no matter who you are. I mean, man, woman, child, animal, whatever. They will put the beat down on you. And together, they're just unstoppable. They picked up the win again this week, and since they had their losses on Dynamite, you know, when she was kind of feuding there with Thunder Rosa, since then they've had a long winning streak. So
they're still putting that over on commentary that they only have 2 losses.
Absolutely.
And those 2 losses are to teams of people, of women that are like super high end in their division.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that was when they were, you know, at least as far as AEW storylines were concerned, newly paired as well. So now that they've had this time together on Dark, you know, I wish they would develop more of the women's tag team division, because these women need a chance to shine on Dynamite. They're so good on Dark. They're a highlight every week, and I just hope they get more and more eyes on their matches, because it's fantastic.
I still feel like that is the purpose of having them in tag team matches on Dark, is that they are keeping that standard for this is what we want our women's tag team matches to be like. When we get enough of you that can do this at this level, we will have that division ready to go for you, because they're very invested in the idea of having a very competitive women's division. So it's just finding the right chemistry, and they've got their tag team. Well, 2, because TJ is still a thing too. They're teasing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And the Dark Order are more popular than ever, so it's a really exciting time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Super
so now TJ can be the face team to the Sicaria's heel team, and boom, you've got a feud ready to go right there. You just need a division to build that feud around, and that they're not very far away from that. So
no, not at all. And next up in our main event, we had Chaos Project versus SCU. We're continuing on with the storyline that SCU, if they break up, or they will break up if they lose another match. And that does actually add a nice bit of drama and excitement to their matches, knowing that at any time you see them, it could actually be the last time you're seeing them together. And WWE, they'd lose at WrestleMania or pay-per-view, but everything's a little more up in the air on Dynamite as far as things like that, and Dark as far as things like that go. And so it would be interesting to have that be your must-see spot.
Right. And both of those guys on SCU are guys that would gladly and happily use that storyline to put somebody young in that position to move up. Mm-hmm. To your point, Fuego del Sol may get his first win against them. That it's not a guaranteed gimme if you see Fuego del Sol plus Ryzen, in a tag team match against them. Any week could be the week that they lose, and that is very interesting.
It really is, and it's got such a cool feel. It's exciting. It's dramatic, in a way that's kind of missing from wrestling. It feels like, but also in this match we had one of my favorite things. Luther continued to use Serpentico as a weapon. That's one of my favorite parts of Dark. It's the highlight of their match. Fantastic. Commentary was fantastic on this match. They did a lot for me, explaining things like the risk Kazarian was taking and not breaking up a pin attempt on Daniels and things like that. Great detail from commentary on a great match. SCU will stick together for at least another week because they secured the pin on Serpentico just before the 9-minute mark. And that was our main event of AEW Dark, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend Dark every week to people, but this week it just felt a little extra good, it seemed like. So I especially recommend, especially if you haven't seen Dynamite this week, watch Dark first. It really sets it up in a nice way.
Yeah, it sets a good tone.
And first up on our AEW Dynamite Beach Break special this week, we had the number one contendership match for the tag team titles. And this was a match that I was extremely excited for on paper, but I didn't actually love it once I watched. It did help further some of the stories and advance some things for the tag teams involved, but I found it both a little confusing and rather distracting that we were told Jericho MJF was, and I quote, the tag team of the Inner Circle.
Yes.
But we still saw Proud and Powerful in the match. We still saw Sammy Hagar in the match.
Yep.
And fighting for their spot, for the tag titles. So it was strange. We did not see SCU in the match as promised, but we did still have Jurassic Express involved. In the end, though, Jericho turned on Sammy, and Jericho and MJF stood tall and won the match, leaving us with a somewhat disappointing ending for Lucha fans. Kind of a very interesting ending for Inner Circle fans. Later, Sammy walked off and refused to join the group in celebrating, and Jericho left. MJF called a meeting. And Proud and Powerful, Orlov shuts the door, but Proud and Powerful looked like they were ready to get up. They did not look happy when Sammy walked out.
No.
And so it's very interesting, and it'll be exciting to see how this plays out.
I had a couple thoughts on this match, too, because first off, I was very disappointed that when they had all of them in there, that Proud and Powerful went out way too early.
Oh, I know, because they're so good. Such a cohesive tag team, and they get the tandem parts that you need. And when those things coalesce, you're more than just two people. You Proud and Powerful get that.
And so, that was my first note, was why did you put them in this match if they're going to go out that early? Especially with the ending they did. Because you had the Inner Circle versus a collection of random people. If you'd kept Proud and Powerful or one member of them in that kind of equation, you could have done more with that too. But when we got to where we were at, where you had Sammy and Jericho as representing the Inner Circle. And and then you had it was Top Flight. You had Top Flight as the baby face in there. I'm like, I got reinvested. Like, there's no way that whatever happens here, I'm not interested in, because the ending we got was kind of I'm using the air quotes for those of you who don't see me, the worst ending, because we got the Jericho MJF thing, but it's setting up Jericho and MJF, or some Sammy versus probably MJF, and like all of that is interesting to me. Putting Sammy in a main event storyline is interesting to me.
Me too.
And having the notion that Top Flight might be in the main event storyline was interesting to me. I don't know if we've mentioned this or not, but both members of Top Flight worked masked gimmicks before. The older of the two, I don't remember his name, was Airwolf on MLW. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't think
didn't even know that.
No, that we have not discussed. So we just got educated. Thank you, Brendan.
So, it's for those of you that are listening, including apparently my friends here. That's a lucha angle. Like, they're not. I don't know that they for sure have classic lucha training, but they work that West Coast style, which is heavily lucha influenced, and they had masked gimmicks, so they're definitely a team to keep your eye on as well. Exciting stuff. I'm hearing the dings going off, so I'm going to let you keep going, Dusty.
Okay. Yeah, our next match was Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker, and I want to give a special shout out to Thunder Rosa's Thunder Chola trunks. Those were brilliant. I loved that.
Her gear really over the past few months, like her Selena outfit, like her gear as of late too has been like on point. Period.
That's what I said. She's on the next level. Everybody's playing 3D and she's up on 6D already. You know what I mean? Like,
I loved this outfit because it gave off superhero vibes, and then the Thunder Chola on it. Like, I'm just like, this is on point. This is where she needs. I loved it. I love Thunder Rosa as a superhero.
So good. And obviously it shouldn't surprise any of you that I really loved this match. Something about Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker absolutely bring out the very best in each other. They just have that fight forever feel for me.
Yeah.
The charisma that they have together, the ring work was off the charts. Rosa's Death Valley driver is amazing, and it's just miles ahead of everybody else's of it. It's so good. There was a ton of psychology in the match, but it ended when Rebel, not Reba, according to the Karrion before the match, ran in and removed a turnbuckle cover without Rosa's knowledge, and Britt Baker was able to exploit the moment, and when Rosa ran at her, she grabbed Rosa and sent her face first into the turnbuckle and knocked her out, then applied the lockjaw, and the ref stopped the match and declared Britt Baker the winner. I loved the match, and as much as a lot of people didn't love the finish, I thought it was great because it fit both Baker's heel persona, and it was especially great because it leaves us thirsty and, gives us that option for that future match.
We need that next match, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And both Dr. Baker and Thunder Rosa have been announced for the upcoming AEW Women's World Championship Contender Elimination Tournament. And with any luck, we'll get to see them face off again there. I think that's where the story's heading. Maybe against each other. Maybe they get involved in each other's matches. It'll be very interesting. But whatever they do, I am here for it. So excited for them. And after that, we had our main event match. We had 2/3 of the Death Triangle with Rey Fenix and Pac, joined by Jon Moxley, versus the super elite of Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. And what a main event. After what was truly a hit-or-miss night of Dynamite for me, aside from the women's match, which was a huge hit, but after that, this match made the night. Rey Fenix came out to steal the show. His work in this match is just incredible. It's only February, and he's already out here making the most legitimate claim for both wrestler and luchador of the year, and nobody else is even close yet. We talk a lot about Penta and how great he is, and that he's really the character, the better character of the two. But, oh my gosh, Rey Fenix is obviously the better wrestler.
Yeah,
he has
100%.
He has that ability to make it look so effortless that we forget how much work he puts in. But it knocks your socks off in a match like he had on Dynamite. But despite all of his best efforts, it wasn't enough for the terrible trio of the slimy Super Elite. And after a magic killer from the Good Brothers to Rey Fenix and a V-trigger to Pac, Kenny and the Good Brothers picked up the win. Immediately afterwards, the Good Brothers and Omega attacked Rey Fenix. Moxley tried to stop them, but the numbers were a bit much until Lance Archer ran down to kind of put a stop to everything, fought everybody out of the ring. Only Moxley and Kenny are in the ring until someone runs in and attacks Moxley. When he removes the mask and pulls his hoodie down, it was Kenta from New Japan. He hit the go to sleep on Moxley, and then he and Kenny smiled to end the match and end the show. And what a main event it was. Great night. I'm so excited to see where this goes. Hopefully we'll see Pentagon back soon. He's had some visa issues lately, and it's not an injury, it's visa issues keeping him from coming to the United States, but he's planning to move here soon, so hopefully we'll kind of see the end of that.
I had mentioned this, but it's not the first time he's had visa issues before. The Defy, as I mentioned earlier, he was supposed to be at one of the early events, and the story was that he had an issue with his passport at the airport.
Oh wow! At the airport.
Yeah, we got a very emotional apology video saying, "I'm really sorry we couldn't make it." And that was the story behind it. So this is an obvious point of frustration for his career. So I'm not at all surprised. Hopefully, we get something out of it. That when I heard about visa issues, that was flashing back to me.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, now that he's planning to make the move to the States, and Phoenix lives in the States now too, so hopefully it kind of resolves some of that. But that's why we've been seeing more of Phoenix than Pentagon lately. And also in kind of AEW related news, we mentioned it for a moment last week, but we had more announcements this week for the AEW Unrivaled toy line. And the most recently released set, release set for sale, Wave 4, we saw Sammy Guevara getting a figure with Santana and Ortiz getting singles figures for the tag team that gets a spot in each wave. And on Wednesday of this week, Wave 5 was kind of announced. The prototypes were displayed, and they revealed that Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy will be getting the tag team spot.
That's good business. A Luchasaurus action figure is, I'm surprised it took this long.
So smart. Yeah, he's perfect for that.
Perfect.
Apparently he's getting a new mask, and that was part of the hang up with the figure, is that they may have been trying to get a mask they owned the copyright to, because his mask was like a modified stock mask. And
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. If
they just added horns to an existing mask. Yeah.
And then they were taken away on live television. That's just terrible.
Terrible. Dastardly. But also, Legends of Lucha Libre and Masked Republic superstars Penta El Zero M and Rey Fenix were included in the tag team spot of Wave 2 of the AEW Unrivaled line. And they have completely sold out across the country. They're sold out everywhere. You cannot find them.
Shocked. Yeah. This is my shocked face.
Yeah. And in addition to that being sold out, they're pending premium wave figure releases from the Legends of Lucha Libre toy line at Boss Fight Studios that promise to be the most articulated wrestling figures of all time. They too have sold out. And the Masked Republic accessory packs had sold out. So they had the real dog collar mat, with the real chain and leather.
I remember they were talking about that during the Virtual Expo Lucha. They previewed all that. So it doesn't quite surprise me because of just how detailed and how cool just these editions are. There's just nothing else like it out there.
You have these super articulated action figures for the pure action figure fans, and then you have probably the most hot tag team in pro wrestling right now.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
How can that not sell out?
It's such an exciting time to be a Lucha Libre fan and a toy collecting Lucha Libre fan, because for years in America we only had bootleg Lucha figures and whoever might be in WCW or now WWE, which for 20 years was Rey Mysterio and Ultimo Dragon only. Like, I love those guys, but it's exciting to get our hands on some actual variety of merchandise that we all love and cherish. And we actually have Kevin and Masked Republic to thank for that. He's done a lot of work. In addition to that Masked Republic Legends of Lucha Libre line, there's a new line at Boss Fight with Legends of Lucha Libre called Fanaticos that has an additional Wave 1 lineup of Penta, Rey Fénix, Juventud Guerrera, and Taya Valkyrie, and her figure is amazing.
Yeah, that Fanaticos figure is fantastic.
It's really cool. And the second wave that'll drop later this year will include Ultimo Dragon. So keep an eye out for that. New items and collaborations are being dropped by Legends of Lucha Libre and Masked Republic all the time. Keep your eyes open for those, and we will announce them on the show as they're being released. Just today, as we record this, it was announced that both Psycho Clown and Super Porky have joined Masked Republic. And so it would be very exciting to see them joining the action figure lineup soon. Lucha collectors are just being spoiled right now, and I love it. Like, so much Masked Republic and Legends of Lucha Libre that's out there that's exciting and new. And everybody go to bossfightstudio.com to check those out.
So you gave Kevin credit on this, but Eric at Boss Fight Studios is also a huge Lucha fan. He was in our chat when we were covering Triple Mania and loving everything that was happening. I talked to him at Expo Lucha as well. He is a huge Lucha fan. So, Boss Fight Studios has other non-wrestling toys. If you wanna just support the Lucha stuff, that's great. But I mean, they've got a full range, and I highly recommend Eric's studio as a fantastic place to get all of your toy needs, because there's really good people behind it.
Absolutely. And for those of us that are like my age-ish, if you remember Bucky O'Hare, he's remaking those toys. Boss Fight Studios, they've got such cool stuff.
I've got my shelf cleared for the Flash Gordon stuff.
They got Flash Gordon, they've got Zorro, they've got Sam and Max. I mean, they have got incredible things at Boss Fight Studios you just wouldn't expect. Tarzan even.
Yep. That's the Pulp Fiction Zorro, not the wrestler who is apparently terrorizing the North.
Correct. Yeah. Just want to clear that up for all the listeners.
This is the classic masked man who rides a horse.
Make sure to check out massrepublic.com for links to all of these sites, including connections to ProWrestlingTees.com, Lucha-Masks.com, Hot Topic, Running Press, and of course the Luchaverse.com. So, I mean, Masked Republic has just a lot of reach and its arms in lots of projects. So make sure you go to massrepublic.com to get information on all of their collaborations and officially licensed merchandise. So we started with the show with this a little bit. I mean, we talked about how crazy Wednesday night was on the AEW side. Right. NXT gave you a fairly stacked Lucha show. And more than we would have had ever expected. And some things that happened where I know for me, literally, I sent a group message, it's happening. It's happening.
Yes.
Things are happening.
Oh, so good. Yeah. It's such a fun night.
Yes. So starting off NXT, we had Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez versus Kaden Carter and Kacy Catanzaro. This one was a very entertaining match. Started off with Dakota Kai in the ring with Kacy Catanzaro. And really, I mean, what you saw on display, of course, is Kacy's athleticism. That continues to be, what she's great at. Though her execution, I think, is still rough. I know there was some moments where she missed a few spots, and she continues to really try and refine that kind of corkscrew senton thing that she does. But she tends to seem like she's kind of over executing it, and luckily didn't land completely on Raquel's face, but there's some, work that kind of needs to be done around it. But I mean, she is exactly what they want in someone who's entertaining, someone who's athletic, someone that you can really root for. But at the end of the day, I mean, this was for Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Dakota Kai was able to turn the pace around very quickly. And Raquel Gonzalez, I mean, really, out of all the women in this match, too, is truly that powerhouse of the NXT women's division.
Yeah.
Winning the match with that one-handed powerbomb that she does and Casey Catanzaro for nonetheless. I mean, the girl, I think is barely breaking 100 pounds. So
yeah, it looked brutal. Like, this was maybe the best one yet. It was so good.
Yeah, Casey, though, sells very, very well. Or maybe it was because it may have really, really hurt. Because I don't.
I really hope it's not another one of those injury angles where they accidentally injure the tiny people. Because
no, I think I think again, Casey is really athletic, and I think with her background, she knows. Really, I think from what I've seen, she really knows how to sell. She really still has to kind of refine her work a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, she's only been in this for just a few years. But also with this win, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez are heading to the finals of the Women's Dusty Tag Team Classic. And that is going to be happening on Saturday, February 14th on Vengeance Day. Yes. Vengeance. That is the next NXT TakeOver event. Yes. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't do a St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That to me is like one of my favorite titles of all time.
Yeah.
Like, but Vengeance Day is fine as well. We'll get over it. But yes, so, and so the winners of that their competitors are going to be determined on next week's episode of NXT. So we'll see how it goes, but a lot of people are favoring Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, to win the whole thing. So, and at this point, it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, I'm not speaking from a point of expertise when I favor them. That's just who I want to win.
Yeah. I mean, we all have our preferences as well. And I think there are fans who really would prefer them. And so, I mean, I think it will be interesting to see who they end up facing in the finals and what happens on Vengeance Day. Now, the next Lucha match on that card was, of course, the big one, Lucha House Party versus Legado del Fantasma. In a quarterfinal match in the Dusty Tag Team Classic. And this is, someone I heard a very good description as far as just difference in styles and lucha styles, because Lucha House Party is very much more of that high flying, fast pace, and the same with Legado as far as the fast pace, but a lot more, technical, a lot more, just methodical, and also just more, I guess how I'm trying to describe it. The sugar rush is now like totally slowing me down.
You're crashing. You're crashing.
I'm crashing hard.
The sugar bus with flutter.
But just difference in styles. But also, again, I mean, this has been a program that we've seen now for almost 2 months. So for this to be kind of having something important on the line is also a fantastic story to tell. The match started with Grand Metalik and Raul Mendoza, and then there was some good exchanges before Lindsay got involved, and then Joaquin Wilde. Metalik had a fantastic springboard, but Raul Mendoza was able to send him to the floor with a really cool, really nice kick. And then there was just that amazing Hurricane Rana that Grand Metalik had from the top to Joaquin Wilde off that second rope, and it was just crazy. It was a perfect example of why Lucha House Party can really do those things on NXT, and why it's been a great opportunity for them to be on that show, and especially against Legado del Fantasma, who may not be in the same high-flying style, but understand Lucha Libre, so they know where they're supposed to be, they know their spots, they can do things a little bit more, a little differently, and it translates really, really well. But ultimately, Legado del Fantasma won with a double team finisher, and they are advancing to the next round of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And as far as really the piece de resistance of the night was Santos Escobar versus Kurt Stallion. Now, this was one that was supposed to happen last week. However, Kurt mysteriously got injured, and so he could not compete. And William Regal barged into the dressing room last week and made sure that Legado del Fantasma did not interfere, and that if anything were to happen to Kurt Stallion, so he couldn't compete this week, that Legado del Fantasma would have to pay for it. So, I mean, really, Santos Escobar was dominant throughout this match, but Kurt Stallion got some really good offense at the end. I mean, I think it really did a great job of building Kurt Stallion as a good baby face, but it also keeps establishing Santos Escobar as not only just a great heel, but someone who is methodical, someone who is calculated, someone who knows how to work and execute moves in the ring, outside of the ring, anywhere. But also in a way that displays his cockiness and his confidence. But what happened during the match was a little interesting, because while the match was occurring, Scarlett showed up and was standing in the further part of the arena, watching and observing, letting us know that she was there, and very likely Karrion Kross was not that far behind. As far as the match itself, Escobar hit the Phantom Driver for the win, and after the match, Karrion Kross came out and he just beat the tar out of Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde before going into the ring and giving a warning to Santos Escobar, and saying he's giving him the gift of time. And then
was so cool.
It's a great gift, but I prefer gold.
Yes. Well, so I'm interested in your guys' thoughts on this, because I feel like as much as for Lucha fans this is great, it also is a very curious program, because you had Karrion Kross, who was very much in the NXT title picture, had to let go of his title, and then, he's now back. We would have thought he would jump back into the NXT title picture, or with another, he just finished a great program with Damian Priest, and now he's going after the Cruiserweight champion. And it seems a little bit too more out of nowhere. And so, it almost guarantees that Santos is going to be beat. Because how can he compete with the size and strength of Karrion? But also, why this? Why, out of all the people, what about this program, compelled somebody to book this when they're on kind of very different levels? And I just mean that as far as very different sides of NXT.
Yeah,
absolutely.
First off, I have trouble believing that Kross is anywhere even remotely near 205. So
I think he's like 260 something. Like that's a small child.
I think that it's not necessarily about coming after the gold, but coming after the man, and
correct.
So that
yes,
right.
Yeah, it's nothing about the Cruiserweight Championship, but it's the fact that he's going after the Cruiserweight Champion.
Yes,
I guess is just that's the kind of curious part.
Well, so I think that that's another one of those. I'm just interested to see how they're going to do it, because I think what they did here is they showed us what we're going to happen, and then in the following weeks they're going to tell us why it's happening, and that's the part that has me interested. You're right; they're coming from very disparate parts of NXT, where actually Escobar has been performing more on 205 Live than NXT of late, but his time and his placement with the faction was all about NXT, and I think that if Kross is trying to establish himself as a force to behold, you go after some of the biggest, most prominent people in the promotion, and the ones right now that are in that place are Legado del Fantasma. Like,
absolutely,
yeah.
Well, and on just kind of a pure wrestling level, if you were like, who would it be really cool to see Santos wrestle? It's like
right?
Kevin Kross. He used to work down in AAA.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And so
exactly.
they're like, Karrion, come here.
Yeah, I mean, for Lucha Libre fans, this is a dream. You know,
this is
but
their
again,
first singles matchup, right?
That's what we were trying to figure out. As far as we understand, yes.
Yeah.
And there may have been something in Mexico that they've done, but yeah. But again, too, is the fact that WWE doesn't tailor things to Lucha Libre fans. So it's almost like, is this a trick? Are you trying to fool us? Like, what's the catch here? You're doing something to cater to Lucha Libre fans? I don't believe it.
I've been here before.
Was catered to Lucha Libre fans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
It really was.
I've been here before. You can't set me on fire again. I know.
So I just think it will be very, very interesting. And this seems like this is a pit stop on the road for Karrion Kross back to the NXT Championship, because they still have, some unfinished business between Finn Balor and Pete Dunne. And also, who decided to show up on NXT is the 2021 Royal Rumble winner Edge, who, alluded to possibly wanting to choose the NXT Championship as the championship he goes for. But again, I mean, Karrion Kross had an interaction with Edge outside of the arena, and it's one of those moments where you don't think about it until it happens, and you're like, well, now I have to have this match. Now Edge just has to live in NXT now, because I want him to face everybody, including Karrion Kross.
I have a very different opinion on that. I felt more like he was just trying to justify the gas money to Orlando to see his wife. Like, I felt like I'm here, so I'll just challenge a few people, and then we can say that I'm promoting the NXT brand.
Well, as Edge said, he hasn't had that title.
Nope.
And we, I think I was talking about it with someone else. Edge has literally won everything that can be won in WWE.
It's true.
It's
very true.
Everything.
Yes. Yeah, everything.
Everything except the NXT Championship.
So the fantasy booker in me also likes that putting the NXT title in the main event of WrestleMania, because that's what the stipulation of winning the Rumble is that you challenge for a title in the main event of WrestleMania. So I do like that, but I don't think that's where they're going with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it depends. But again, that interaction between Edge and Karrion Kross, I think just the presence of Karrion Kross again on NXT is fantastic. But, I can understand that there are some fans who wonder, why is Karrion going after Santos? Hopefully they explain more of a story behind it, because there hasn't been one so far. It was just, the leaving of the card and Santos not really having any fear or hesitation to Karrion, like he's not taking him seriously and his threats seriously. I want to have a little bit more depth, just so that this makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, for Lucha Libre fans, like, this is a fantastic program that they're moving forward with, and I hope it does what it needs to show for Santos, that he can be in main event. I mean, will it be main event? No, unfortunately, because they're putting all their, eggs in that carton with Finn Balor. However, I think being able to show, the ability for Santos to wrestle someone much bigger than him, and someone, who at that point, I mean, even Randy Orton was already calling out Karrion Kross and told him to get his ass up to the main roster. I mean, it's been a crazy, crazy week of fantasy booking with Karrion Kross. But I do think also this is going to be hopefully a great opportunity for Santos to really show off what he can do with someone of a different size, and not just be pigeonholed as the cruiserweight champion, because I think he's done phenomenal in that. But at the end of the day, you want to do more, because that's also how you get to a Raw or SmackDown, is by showing you can do more.
Right. And we as fans of the man who've seen him wrestle giant men before, know that he can do it, but seeing him do it in front of the WWE audience is what needs to happen to get him to that level. So yeah, I mean, I just so excited by the idea that I just really, really want it to happen.
Yeah. Well, we will see what happens. Legado del Fantasma is advancing in the tournament. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez is advancing, so we'll see them. It looks like we're going to continue to see Karrion versus Santos. So NXT in the next few weeks is going to continue to be very, very exciting. I am sad that Lucha House Party lost. I hope to continue to see them in NXT because they're a really, really good fit. And again, they've been one of the few people who have worked in two brands at the same time between Raw and NXT. So, and I think it's only benefited them.
Yeah, the more we can see them in shows where they're allowed to wrestle instead of just being a comedy filler team, the better we'll get. But yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that was this week in NXT. And don't forget, when we talk about AEW, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, you can find all of the results on luchacentral.com every single week. But you also know what you can find on luchacentral.com? That's this day in Lucha Libre history, which we do a lovely job of packaging to this week in Lucha Libre history. So, Dusty, take it away.
Yeah, that's right. It's time for This Week in Lucha Libre History. Be sure to check in at luchacentral.com every single day for This Day in Lucha Libre by Pep Carrera for information, birth dates, anniversaries, and amazing videos all about Lucha Libre. And that's at luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. This week, I chose the match of the day for February the 3rd with my This Week in Lucha Libre, and it was Legends of Lucha Libre superstar Ultimo Dragon versus Rey Mendoza Jr. on WCW Monday Nitro from February the 3rd, 1997. This is Villano 4, who is not the actual Rey Mendoza Jr. That's actually Villano 5. But this is one of Rey Mendoza's sons, so WCW called him Rey Mendoza Jr. Anyway, that's out of the way. You can tell this is a guy that fought some brutal luchas because his entire forehead is so pruned from blading. It looks like they rescued him while he was scuba diving backstage. Like, it's crazy. He's really just here to take a beating from Ultimo Dragon in the match. If you recall your early 1997 Nitros, Ultimo's favorite thing at that moment is to just straight up kick people as hard as he can. But this isn't Mendoza's first rodeo, so he gives it back just as hard as he can, and it looks amazing in the ring. This is the Ultimo Dragon I fell in love with as a young tween/teenager. He has the old pink mask and the cowl. He just looks like $1 million. This is one of those legendary cruiserweight WCW matches that made WCW so unique and so special in that era in a way that really hasn't ever been replicated in the U.S. The unintentional highlight of this match for me was when Ultimo Dragon was supposed to do a forward roll under a leapfrog, but Mendoza doesn't jump high enough, and so he gets 2 boots straight to the groin, and then he completely no-sells it like it never happened. It was hilarious. One of the funniest things I've ever seen. The finish is fantastic. Ultimo is kind of in the same spirit. Ultimo goes for the Dragon Rana on the top turnbuckle, but he doesn't spin all the way around, which means he then really has to tighten the grip with his knees and actually flip Mendoza off the top turnbuckle for real. It looks fantastic. There's little that looks better to me than a real Hurricane Rana in wrestling or a real head scissors. And it was just so cool to see the force that Ultimo Dragon was able to bring into that finisher sequence before a Dragon suplex to get the pin. Just a great match. It's only about 3.5 minutes long. So if you got 3.5 minutes, check it out. It was match of the day. It was so good. What did you pick this week, Brendan?
Well, so I did not go with the match of the day that we were looking at. This week I chose February 6, 1995, where the Legends of Lucha Libre superstars Fuerza Guerrera and Juventud Guerrera won the WWA World Tag Team Championship after beating Rey Mysterio and Rey Mysterio in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco.
Oh,
now, I think,
wow.
Right? So I spent all week looking for footage of this match. Like, that was my quest. But I mean,
yeah.
So you have so much storytelling just with just this bill right here. You have two father and son teams. Well, sort of. I mean, two men,
family teams.
yeah. And you have like, that's probably one of the last times you saw Fuerza and Juventud doing stuff together, because they kind of had a estrangement for a good long while.
Yeah, they did.
And Rey Mysterio Sr. doesn't do a lot of wrestling anymore. He's a teacher, but you also had that. So I mean, this encapsulates a lot of things. I mean, in seeing this, there's almost no way that the Guerrera teams weren't the Rudos in this. So I also just want to see how the story of these four men plays out in the ring. But everything sounds fantastic about this. So again, February 6, 1995. Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco. Anybody out there that's still got that on VHS or has it on the deep web somewhere? I am looking for this match. Miranda, what did you find?
Well, I also had challenges not finding video for this, but what I ended up picking was February 1st, 2004, and that's when Lady Apache won the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship and the Mexican National Women's Championship after beating Tiffany. And this was a house show for AAA in which this happened. And this was the second reign for Lady Apache for the Reina de Reinas Championship, and she held it for 385 days. Also, this match was part of a kind of longer storyline feud between Lady Apache and Electroshock versus Tiffany and Chessman that happened throughout 2004. So, I mean, that kind of just helping being the catalyst for it, to me was very, very interesting, or help with telling that story. But, I also could not find this, because it was a house show, I don't think there was as much, video of it, but I would have loved to see this match because they, had a pretty lengthy feud, throughout, their time in AAA. And I just, have seen of other matches, but this one in particular, because winning both titles would have been really interesting to see.
Yeah, I've seen matches from their feud, but I would have loved to seen that match too.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either. I actually looked around trying to find that. This couldn't.
Yeah, but I think that it's also there's lots of other matches of theirs as well, especially the Apuestas match. So I mean, hey, there's lots of other great content out there. But that was just something that piqued my interest when I was viewing all of the historical moments from this week. Is that match in particular? Well, that was this week in Lucha Libre history. As Dusty mentioned, you can find this day in Lucha Libre history on luchacentral.com every day. But you know what else you can find on on luchacentral.com, Brendan? Why don't you go and tell our listeners what they can find on luchacentral.com?
Well, we've got all kinds of things on luchacentral.com. If you're listening to us and you haven't been to the luchacentral.com, it really is time to do it. LuchaCentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish, find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else, find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area, find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. A place to have your voices heard, from weekly polls to annual awards, seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And it's still free, so it will probably always be free. LuchaCentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.
As we get into the last third of the show, we're going to get started with some AAA news that Brendan alluded to earlier in the show. Dusty, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, this week there was a new collaboration announced between AAA and the Ministry of Tourism for Mexico. And one of the fruits of this collaboration is the immediate start of shows that are being recorded at unique locations like haciendas, pueblos mágicas, which are special or romantic or picturesque towns in more rural locations that Mexico is trying to introduce tourism into, and also many spots of international importance in history. It was initially assumed that these shows would start later in the spring, but Hugo Savanovich was actually on his way to commentate a show in a bullfighting ring when I messaged him on Wednesday. And so it's looking like we could be seeing these shows pop up on YouTube in early March. I hope to be able to review some of those, but due to the current lawsuit situation, it's unknown how soon they'll be available to countries outside of Mexico. So we'll keep you posted on what happens with those. But in other news for AAA this week, Roosh announced that he would like to come back and wrestle at least some matches in AAA. And then he also announced this week that he would like to wrestle Kenny Omega, champion versus champion. So that led to some people naturally wondering, well, like, does he mean AEW or does he mean AAA or all titles on the line? And so naturally something like that, the easiest place for it to take place would be in AAA because it's kind of neutral ground for Roosh and Kenny Omega. So very exciting what could happen there and what it's hinting to. 2, 3, maybe even a month ago, I would have said, no, probably not going to happen. But now I don't know. Genuinely, I don't. It could happen.
It's a weird new world.
It really is. And anything could happen right now. So hopefully we'll get some more eyes on the product for AAA and get to see them back on our screens very soon. Even like the reason they're not announcing Kenny Omega as the champion is because of the lawsuit. Like everything is because of the lawsuit right now. So hopefully we'll see that resolved in the near future and things can kind of get rolling again here on this side of the United States lines. We can get some lucha, some new AAA lucha.
Yeah.
So for this week in Impact Wrestling, the only match I really have to highlight, not a whole lot of Lucha Libre content, but we did have one match, and of course it's within the X division, TJP versus Rohit Raju, and this is a continuance of the storyline of current X division champion current X Division champion TJP, who did win the championship under the mask of Manic, facing Rohit Raju, which apparently this goes back to a match they had quite some time ago in which TJP lost to Rohit Raju and could not challenge for the X Division championship again, and that is where the mask Manic came into play. Now that Manic was the champion and, pretty much everyone knew it was TJP, they've, suspension of disbelief is gone because now it's just plain TJP as X Division champion. And that, understandably, Rohit Raju is kind of pissed. He's like, what? Like, he's not supposed to be able to challenge for this title that he took from me. But anyways, that led to a non-title match this week on Impact. Rohit started the match, pretty quickly, seemingly, unleashing some frustration. Started with driving his forearm to the face of TJP and getting a 2 count. TJP, though, in classic style, with the springboard Rana and his tornado DDT, which is fantastic. And then he also tried to do the Mamba Splash, one of his signature moves, but Rohit rolled out of the way. But an interesting aspect of this match is Rohit Raju's former associate Mahabali Shera came from under the ring to deliver a choke slam on the apron and helped Rohit get the win. So TJP losing this non-title opportunity, so he is still X Division champion. But it seems like the odds are being stacked against him now. And with that, with TJP, not only did we see him this week on Impact, but he also was part of a tag team title opportunity on MLW. Him and his tag team partner, Buku Dao, faced the brand new MLW tag team champions in Los Parks. Now, this was a different dynamic for me, which is interesting, especially seeing TJP as very much of a baby face in Impact, and then, as I'll explain in a minute, not so much of a baby face in MLW, which I always can appreciate. But, you know, this match starts off with Los Parks really, you know, taking advantage of the fact that Buku Dao is still very much, you know, a newcomer and green in his own right. Hijo de LA Park starts the matchup with Dao and kind of makes fun of his height, you know, trying to, you know, do the lockup with his hands up high. And so, and then eventually LA Park and Hijo de LA Park take advantage of a distraction, and really use that double team on Buku Dao, throughout the match. And that's getting TJP pissed. You can see him in the ring, even pushing Buku Dao out of the way to, you know, beat up on Hijo de LA Park because, you know, and commentary did a good job of addressing this. Understanding the dynamic and the approach to Los Parks, you have to be aggressive. You have to come at them before they come at you. They're not the high flyers of Lucha Libre. These are the brawlers. These are the kind of the cheaters, you know? So you got to be smart with them. No, never. So you got to be smart with them in the ring. And, you know, Buku Dao and TJP do get some pretty good offense in. However, it wasn't enough, especially as, you know, Los Parks are represented by Promociones Dorado. That means Selena is part of, you know, has a presence at ringside. And during the match got on the apron to distract the referee, while LA Park Jr. came from underneath the ring to replace Hijo de LA Park and switch out, which is exactly what happened when they won the World Tag Team titles. And, you know, that created the distraction, in which they were able to pin Buku Dao and retain the MLW tag team titles. And after that, TJP was pissed at Buku Dao and ended up kind of knocking him down, you know, pretty much, seemingly giving up on his new trainee. So again, I found that just very interesting dynamics with TJP and how he's presented on the two products. But Los Parks, you know, still your MLW tag team champion.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the match too. To your point, they also were playing up the new ownership of Selena De La Renta's faction, and it's hard to know it by looking at Selena De La Renta, but because I've seen a few of her matches, she was actually dressed to wrestle, so I was expecting her to have more of a presence. But also I'm loving that the Parks are now doing this kind of twin magic sort of.
Yes, that's something. Even though it's pretty obvious that they're wearing different outfits.
Yeah, but
like at least twin magic when it's done before, like people try.
Yeah,
I feel like there's some sloppiness with this twin magic.
They're not really. Yeah, that's what I like about it though. It's like a cross between twin magic and Freebird rules, like that. So
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I get that.
So I'm enjoying the what they're doing with it, and I hope we see more of that expanded on in MLW.
Another match that happened on this week's MLW was Gino Medina making his in-ring return against Gringo Loco. And this seems to be a return to the Gino Medina of old. I mean, he was at one point associated with the Dynasty, and kind of was more of that pompous playboy type of role, but he has since left the Dynasty and he's now back on his own, and it seems like we're getting more of that, definitely more lucha oriented Texas style Gino Medina, not only in presentation but also in ring. And I think this was a very great return. I mean, Gringo Loco as well, we haven't seen in some time, and so it seemed like they really tested each other. Gino got the win via roll-up, and Gino was cutting a promo after the match as far as stating that he is back, and during that promo, Gringo Loco attacked him, and so it seems too that this is far from over, but I mean, it was Gino had some really, really good kicks in this. Gringo Loco, again, surprisingly, has a really good aerial assault. And this was something that on paper I was like, I thought this was going to be kind of a quick match, but it was very, very competitive.
It's two lucha stars against each other, so that was the one I was more excited to see, for sure. Like, I love Los Parks, but I mean, two lucha guys on a show like Fusion where they'll let them go. I was very happy with this match. And, I feel it's an important distinction because so many of our listeners may not have seen this bit. It's the attack after the match during the interview wasn't just, Gringo Loco running in from off screen and punching him. It was,
he flew in.
Yeah.
He flew in like a luchador and landed on it. It definitely made it very clear that this feud is not over, and I am here for the two of them working a program.
I'm here for this. I love this return to the old Gino Medina. I get what they were trying to do with the whole dynasty angle, but it just didn't fit him. So, I just feel like I'm very excited to see this Gino Medina, and I think this is a great welcome back as far as this kind of aggressive program that hopefully they set up with Gringo Loco. But the big news coming out of MLW this week is that they replayed a promo from Laredo Kid after his win against Senshi the week before, in which he wanted to challenge Lio Rush. And so Lio Rush responded, saying that, he would be happy to face Laredo Kid and help this kid be famous. And that he had proposed an interpromotional title fight in which MLW has agreed. So you will have the AAA Cruiserweight Champion facing the MLW Middleweight Champion next week on Fusion. It will be a champion versus champion match. So that means there will be someone who leaves with both titles.
Yeah. And it's a AAA belt on the line, so Dusty's dream of AAA coming north of the border is getting closer and closer.
And I mean, Lio Rush, he did technically wrestle at Triple Mania and has a relationship with AAA, so it almost feels very possible that
it feels super possible.
That Lio Rush could win the AAA Cruiserweight Championship.
Yeah, that's why I like this one, is that it's not an obvious, well, why should I bother? The title very well could change hands, and that's good for both companies if it does.
Yeah, so, even if it's Laredo Kid becoming the MLW middleweight champion, right? That in and of itself is going to be big.
Yeah.
Either way. But and again, this is available before, at least out here on the West Coast, before the big two go on Wednesday. So, watch this big match and then go watch whatever Wednesday night show you want. This is going to be big.
Yeah, and speaking real quick of what you had mentioned, Brendan, about the new acquisition of Promociones Dorado by Azteca Underground, there was a segment where Selena had apparently offered Savio Vega an opportunity to join Promociones Dorado. Apparently the new owner is very rich and has money to bring Savio on board, and this is kind of in response to some of the controversy that had happened last week during the Caribbean strap match, in which it's been suspected that the referee who was a part of that match, may have done some actions to purposely swing the match in the way of Richard Holiday. And then we found out that, yes, it is a former disgraced NBA referee who was fired due to some gambling on the job. But and that just part of the storyline. But it has been presented as an opportunity for Savio Vega to join Promociones Dorado. We still don't know much about who the new owner is, but it seems like they are working to acquire as many maybe Lucha Libre or Latino talent on the roster as possible. So, and it still seems like Selena is still very much in a leadership role with Promociones Dorado. So
Yeah.
It's a very interesting storyline, but I mean, it's worked out well for Los Parks because they're still your tag team championship. So,
Right? Yeah, MLW is getting better week by week, and they were not really ever bad to begin with. So definitely keep your eyes on that product.
Next week's match is going to be something. Leo Rush versus Laredo Kid, like that is going to be your main event. That is going to have implications throughout the world of Lucha Libre, because either way, either you're going to have your AAA championship jump over to MLW, or you're going to have your MLW championship move over a little bit to AAA. So.
Yep. Yeah, they're trying to match this whole AEW TNA sort of energy, and I love it. And then after that we have Laredo Kid Go challenge for the Mega Championship. See, I just got Dusty reading that.
I love it.
I dig it. I'm happy with it. Good booking. And well, that's it for this week's Lucha Central Weekly podcast. We just gave you all the news, all of the events that happened this week, and gave you some things to look forward to in the next week. Don't forget, of course, to visit luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre, and make sure to follow Lucha Central on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Lucha Central, and on Twitter at LuchaCentralCom. Of course, you got to check out the YouTube page. You'll find lots of great content on there. Denise Salcedo does a great wrap-up reviews after all of the major WWE pay-per-views. So she did one for Royal Rumble, and also you can see some of her exclusive interviews, previous matches from different promotions, and other Lucha Central interviews are also available on the YouTube page. So make sure you check it out. And while you're at it, go ahead and follow us on social media. Dusty, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yes, I am on Facebook at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy, and I am on Instagram at Dusty Murphy.
And Brendan, where can our listeners find you?
I am 321 T-shirt guy. T-shirt is all spelled out. So 321 T-shirt guy. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And I'm on the Twitters. Like, even now, I'm right now on Twitter looking at cool stuff. It's where I saw that Gringo Loco spot.
Oh, nice, yes. Yeah, yes, that's our, exactly. He flew. Gringo Loco flew. Great, good. Props to Gringo Loco. And me, Miranda Morales, you can find me at the hashtag Miranda on Instagram and Facebook. Hashtag is spelled out. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, we greatly appreciate it. If this is your first time listening to the show, let us know. Reach out to us on social media. If you're a regular listener, we love to give shout outs to those who reach out to us on social media and let us know your thoughts on the show. So go ahead and do that by reaching out to myself, Dusty, or Brendan. You can also do that by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show on your favorite podcast streaming platform. So that means Spotify, iTunes, Google, Podbase, Speaker, or even on the Lucha Central YouTube page. You can subscribe so that way you can get notifications every time a new episode drops. You can rate us, leave a 5-star rating, and you can leave a review. Let us know your thoughts on the show, topics you think that we should cover, things that we've talked about that you agree or disagree with. Don't worry, we can handle it. So make sure you do all of that.
Or just tell me about your cats. I mean, like, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty open-ended. Food, animals, cool, lucha merch, wrestling merch. Did I say food? Food.
Food. All of it. And, who knows? Who knows? Your cat eating food may wind up on the podcast somehow.
Stranger things have happened. We've talked about less for more. So, you never know. So go ahead and reach out to us on social media. And again, big thank you to anyone who's listened before. Again, if this is your first time, second time, third time, millionth time, we just really, really appreciate it. And you know what? We'll do it for you again next week. We will be back with lots more news and reviews for you. So for Brendan Barr and Dusty Murphy, I'm Miranda Morales. Thank you, and we will be back next week.
Respetable público.